Hi, I'm John Cash. Welcome to John Cash Ministries and Revelations Church's Daily Devotion. Today, the title of my 5-minute Bible study is Humility is the Oil That Makes Your Spiritual Engine Grow and Purr. Humility is the most important godly attribute that you can have. Pride is pretty much at the center of every sin. So it's a foundational evil that lurks inside every human being. We live in the me generation, and the me generation is rooted in pride. It's rooted in focusing on yourself instead of focusing on others. Well, Christ has a message to the American church today, and it is you need to be like me, and I was humble. We're in Phillipians chapter 2, verses 1, 2, and 3. And he says, this is the Apostle Paul speaking, if any of you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from his love, any fellowship with the Spirit, any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and purpose. What's he saying there? Well, he's saying a lot, but the focus here is that you need to be more like Christ, and I'm the one pointing you to how Christ acted, because Jesus did a great work in the Apostle Paul's life. So he says, look, if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, I mean, if you really want to be united with Christ and be encouraged, why would you be encouraged being united with Christ? Because when you are, you're going to be blessed by Christ. You're going to have joy. You're going to have peace. You're going to be like-minded. You're going to be just like him. And doing that, he says, is going to be the secret to heaven. It's going to be the secret to having a successful spiritual life on earth. And it's all rooted in humility. So he says here, basically, if you're united with Christ, then you're going to be acting like Christ did. And what did Christ do? He humbled himself to the point of death. Did he not? He came down from heaven into a human body. If that's not humility, I don't know what is. So he says, if there's any encouragement being united with Christ, any comfort from his love, any fellowship with the Spirit. Notice here, comforted by his love, fellowshipping with his Spirit. In other words, he's saying, look, do you have that connection with Christ? He says, if you have that connection, then that connection is going to breed in you humility. You cannot become humble on your own. As we plug ourselves in to Jesus Christ and into the Holy Spirit, what happens is he begins to give us this humility that can drastically alter our lives for the positive, I might add. He says, then, verse 2, then make my joy complete by being like-minded. Paul's saying here, man, I would be so happy if you would model this, if you would be humble. Man, would that make me happy. See, Paul wasn't focusing on himself here. He was focusing on others. You know, a lot of times we become happy when something happens for us. Yay, right? Well, here he's saying the happiest day of my life is when this person over here becomes more like Christ. See, the focus was not on Paul. That's why he says, you'd make my joy complete by being like-minded. Okay? Acting the same way that Christ did. Acting and having the same attitude that I have. Having the same love, being one in spirit and purpose. In other words, being like Christ. And Christ was humble. Look at verse 3. He says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourselves. Here in verse 3, he's saying, look, you got two roads to follow. You can do everything out of selfish ambition and be vain and conceited, put yourself above others, or you can put others before yourself. Humility always puts someone else before themselves, and that comes from God. Vanity, conceit, always focuses on me, the me generation, putting yourself before others. That's pride, that's arrogance, that comes from the devil. So those are the two roads that we have to do. And here he says in verse 3, do nothing out of selfish ambition. Look, our marriages would be much better in America if humility was at the center of the marriage. Our churches would be running a lot more smoothly if humility was at the center of many of the meetings that occur in churches today. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in what? Humility, consider others better than yourselves. You're putting others before yourselves, and you're even looking at them and saying, they're better than me. That is placing this chunk of humility on yourself to really look at yourself and say, I'm nothing and God is everything. And that's what Paul said. He said he's nothing and God was everything. When we begin to have this attitude, folks, let me tell you, the oil, the spiritual oil, which is symbolic of the Holy Spirit of God, will begin to get that spiritual engine going inside of you, and you will begin to purr spiritually and make your God very happy. God bless you. Thank you for your support of John Cash Ministries and Revelations Church.